Tim. Welcome to Watch You Want, and thanks for logging on. Today, we're looking at the Breitling Emergency II Superquartz, 51 millimeters in brushed titanium. This Emergency II is, like all the watches featured on our YouTube channel, actual inventory in stock and available for immediate delivery on our retail website, watchuwant.com. And if you like getting the latest news, views, and reviews of luxury watches in video format, please visit us on our YouTube channel, Watch You Want Inc., and subscribe. Now, the Emergency II is 51 millimeters at minimum around the round portion of its case, a dominant wrist presence whenever it's on your wrist. With all due respect to the Statue of Liberty, this is the new Colossus. 51 millimeters across by 21.5 millimeters thick. You can see on my wrist 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference. This is a massive, no-nonsense professional tool, and I do mean that in the strictest sense. In the tradition of the original Blancpain 50 Fathoms, the Rolex Submariner, or the GMT Master 2, or for that matter, Breitling's own Navitimer. This is a device created for those whose occupations demand professional-grade equipment of uncompromising quality. This is a true personal locator beacon if you are an aviation professional, if you're an offshore fisherman, if you like to go outdoors into remote places, if you are an offshore sailor. This is your hookup if you get into danger. While it was designed with aviation rescue in mind, legitimate use includes all life-threatening scenarios. So if you do engage in any of those activities and you want a little more peace of mind, the Breitling Emergency II is the way to go. Recall about a decade back, the Colorado hiker who got his arm pinned under a boulder and had to hack it off with a Swiss Army knife? Believe me, if you're going to choose just one Swiss accessory to take into the remote outdoors with you, between the knife and the watch, trust me, he would have preferred to have had the watch. Now, the Emergency II takes everything that you know about the 1995 to present Emergency, and it takes it to the next level. 95, the Emergency debuted essentially an aviator's watch with a built-in locator beacon. 20 years down the line, Breitling reprises the locator beacon, but instead of broadcasting on the original 121.5 megahertz rescue frequency, granted it does that too, it now broadcasts on the new 406.040 megahertz frequency, and it patches up to geosynchronous and low-altitude orbiting satellites to magnify the rescue power, the reach of this watch, so that as soon as you activate it, it reaches up to the satellite rather than outward, hoping to find a contact, straight up to the satellite from your wrist. What it then does is it activates the satellite's ability to magnify the signal and tap into the rest of the rescue network. So effectively, by turning this watch on, you light up a worldwide network of rescue satellites and rescue authorities. The better to live, as they say. And the bottom line is the watch is built around that high-tech, dual-purpose, satellite-compatible broadcasting ability. That's why it's big. That's why I say this watch is professional equipment. In the mold of the original Panerai 3646 and 6152 combat watches of the mid-century, the GMT Master, or for that matter, the original Blancpain 50 Fathoms, its look is shaped by what's inside and what it's supposed to accomplish. So a very large lithium polymer battery developed specifically by Breitling for this application, large enough to power that satellite-compatible transmitter, as well as the transmitter itself with enough punch to project upward into the upper atmosphere, dictates the size of this watch. Considerably larger than past emergency references. It's big, but it's a purposeful size. It's not crafted by the whims of vogue or fashion. This is very much a professional piece of equipment guided by the underlying technical logic of its technology. And you can see that technology on this crown side flank. Right here is the antenna. What you do is you unscrew it counterclockwise and you extend the locator beacon. Now, granted, you better have a good reason. When I say life-threatening circumstances, I mean it. And so do broadcast and rescue authorities. There's a sizable fine for activating this for a fatuous purpose. Happily, none has ever been activated for anything other than an emergency scenario, but many have been rescued by using their Breitling Emergency. So while the concept is novel, it's anything but a novelty. Now, Breitling gives you more than a large, purposeful, technically styled titanium case. They also give you all the functions of a first-class, modern aviator's timepiece, analog as well as digital. The watch features that analog display so you can cycle through its sub-functions on these two digital displays while still reading the local time at center. Moreover, because of what Breitling calls a windrose bidirectional bezel, you can actually use the hour hand in conjunction with this compass scale and the index at 12 to find north, whether you're in the southern hemisphere or the northern hemisphere. The only distinction is going to be whether you point the 12 at the sun or the hour hand at the sun, and then read the northern position in between them. So the bottom line is there is a logic to having the analog and the digital display, beside the fact that it looks cool. In addition to being able to work as a sort of solar compass, it gives you the ability to use the countdown timer, the mission timer, the alarm, the chronograph, the dual time function, as well as the multilingual perpetual calendar while you're reading time all at the same time. Inside, Breitling caliber 76 thermocompensated quartz chronometer. Quartz chronometers are exceptionally rare. First, because it's expensive and difficult to make them. Second, because not many watch companies feel the need to go that extra mile to chronometer certify something that is already exceptionally accurate. Breitling does go that extra mile, which is why the Emergency II features a thermocompensated, that is, temperature-independent, chronometer standard quartz movement, multifunction with a 3 to 4 year lifespan. It also has the thoughtful feature of a low battery warning system. The low battery warning system letting you know when the time-telling functions of the watch are nearing the end of their charge life. Now, with respect to the transmitter battery, the Emergency II is successful in finally integrating a methodology for the end user, that is you, the owner at home, to actually charge the transmitter battery as well as test it using the accessory set that's included with this watch. Now, while the accessory sets of Breitling emergency watches have always been highlights, novel, extensive, something of a bit of theater in their own right, the Emergency II goes to the next level, and you do have that combination testing dock and charging port, so you can keep this watch topped off and ready for action when you are. Now, additional details that are a little bit unique to this model include what's known as the volcano black dial. It's definitely the most discreet, tasteful, and color consonant dial color available with this particular model line. Now, the others are Cobra Yellow and Intrepid Orange, a little bit Doxa in presentation. Believe me, the Volcano Black is the one you want to go with, because the combination of the gray metal, the black strap, and the black dial makes this the kind of watch you can wear a little bit more casually than, for instance, one that's candy colors. And speaking of ergonomics, everything about this watch is very wearable. It's huge. As I mentioned earlier, there's no denying that the look of the watch is massive and imposing, but it's also comfortable. Being crafted of titanium, you're not going to have trouble wearing it. It's not top heavy. It doesn't sit heavily on the wrist. As big as it is, it's only about 150 grams, so the mass is distributed broadly and it doesn't feel hefty. It feels solid. Now, the Pro 3 rubber strap is an excellent piece. You can see from the side, the shoulder is exceptionally thick. So the Pro Diver 3 sort of tapers as it moves away from the lug, so visually the mass is reduced as it curves around the wrist, becoming more flexible as it gets to the soft underside portion of your wrist and terminating in an exceptionally high quality twin trigger actuated deployant clasp. Now, it's up to the standard of the rest of the watch. No nonsense, beautifully finished, but with very much a machine tool aesthetic to it. It speaks to utility, but also a fine finishing sensibility, as everything both externally and internally is beautifully brushed. There's a lot of attention to detail even within this bracelet, showing that Breitling really thought out every detail when designing the Emergency II. Now, the Emergency is always going to be a rare bird. Any example of this watch is going to be exclusive. It's not something you see every day, even at a red bar, even at a watch club meeting. Even if most of the guys are Breitling fans, you're just not going to see the Emergency because it is such a specialized, hardcore professional timepiece. Now, the Emergency II only became legal for sale in the United States in July of 2015. So after 20 years of the Emergency model line, this one has only just landed, pun intended, on our shores. You can see the latest reference, Breitling Emergency II Superquartz, 51mm in beautifully brushed titanium, on our retail website, watchuwant.com.